Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. I had no idea there were so many people like this in the world. How do people end up convinced they're more important than anyone else? But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss a new video every single day. No, I want you to pay me double now, but pick it up next week. So this is old and I don't have screenshots anymore, sorry. It happened when me and my husband, boyfriend at the time, decided to move in together. We had a tiny, crappy bed. One day we decided enough was enough and settled on buying a used one, so we got this app and found a perfect one who fitted our apartment, needs, and budget. We started talking to the seller through group text and discussed payments methods. I was at work at the time, so my boyfriend/husband, let's call him Kyle, he was the one mostly handling it. He knew what I wanted, and I trusted him to handle this. But our seller was a choosing beggar. We agreed to pay him cash on the day of the pickup that would happen 5 days from today because my work schedule, that was the beginning of a saga. Day 1. Our seller tried to raise the price. Again, I was at work and said we wouldn't pay a penny more than the advertised price, and if he didn't like it, we'd be withdrawing our offer. A few more texts, but Kyle handles it like a damn champion. Day 2. CB texted us again saying he found a new buyer willing to pay more for the bed and tells us he's talking to us out of respect, and if we give him the cash right now, plus cover the offer he received, he'd be willing to sell it to us because we were the first couple to show interest. I was starting to lose interest in buying from that guy, but Kyle told me we wouldn't get a better deal. I had to agree, but I was still not willing to get scammed, so he texted CB and said if he sold it to someone else, it'd be okay, but if he still had it available until the day we were supposed to pick it up, we'd be glad to. Day 3. CB says he's not available for the day we scheduled to pick up the bed. He needs 2 more weeks, but he still needs the money. So he's generous enough to allow us to go to his house, deliver him 70% of the cash from the bed, the day we were supposed to, and he would hold it for us until he's back in town so we can pick it up. Kyle's starting to get fed up with CB bullcrap, and I'm 100% done. F that noise. I gotta work. Day 4. CB's sale eve. CB texted us saying a new gorgeous couple decided to comply with all his demands, offering more money than he asked for, and he's now selling it to them. He gives us one last chance to fight the offer that we politely decline and wish him best of luck. CB tells us his life story and how he's selling everything he has because he's going back to his country to care for his elderly parents, how hard his life is, and how he's giving up his American dream for his family. As somebody who comes from an abusive family, I feel genuinely bad for him. But there's absolutely nothing I can do. Again, we tell him we're sorry about the circumstances and wished him best of luck and all the happiness he could find on his new journey. Day 4, 9:45 p.m. CB calls Kyle, who puts him on speakerphone. He said the bed's still available and we have to bring cash and pick it up by 8 a.m. or he won't be selling anything to us. I politely tell him to shove a metal rod up his butt and twist it until it becomes a screw. CB calls me white racial slurs. I'm laughing to the point of tears as I'm not white. Day 5. CB calls Kyle, who declined his calls. CB then called me, who picked up with my best howdy y'all fake accent. He berated me for being late, and I informed him he'd told us a different couple had made an irresistible offer to him, and calling me racial slurs kinda nullified our verbal contract. And on top of that, even if I wanted to, I couldn't pick anything up because we didn't have the truck. That was the point of us calling a day before so we could arrange a damn truck. He started mumbling on his language, and I know those aren't compliments he was saying. So I just hang up and block CB. We did find a different bed. It was a bit more expensive, but the family who sold it to us was wonderful. They even threw a dresser and a vanity for free, so it all worked out for the best. And our second story. Won't stand up for your subordinates? Enjoy going home late. This happened about 10 to 12 years ago. I was a corporal in the Marines at the time, MOS 6469 for the military types, aviation electronics repair tech for the non-military types. I worked night shift in a 3-shift shop, and myself and the sergeant, my direct superior, let's call him Sergeant K, were the quality assurance for the shift. Third shift also had a corporal and sergeant QA pair running their shift. Now, for those who don't know, tools are a big frickin' deal in the aviation world. One lost tool or missing part of a tool can down an entire squadron, as it can cause serious damage to an aircraft. Even if no one dies or gets injured, no one wants to be the one to explain why a bunch of taxpayer money is down the drain. So your shop QA reps have to verify all the tools are accounted for every shift change, after every maintenance action, or even if the tech working needs to take a break to go to the bathroom. Well, on a night like any other, one of my techs broke a tool. We found every piece, wrote up the appropriate paperwork, and left a pass down for day crew to take care of it, as the head QA shop and tool shop didn't run a night crew. Since we found everything, not a huge deal. Crap happens. Well, the third shift corporal comes in and we start taking stock of the tools. We were a fairly large shop, somewhere between 12 and 15 large toolboxes. Now, naval aviation maintenance is full of procedures that if performed by the book, they would take so long that no actual work would ever get done. This tool check was one such thing. Generally, we just made sure all the tools were where they were supposed to be, and every multi-piece tool had every piece. Usually took us 20 to 25 minutes max. We start the tool check, he notices the broken tool is not in its toolbox. I tell him I'll give him a full rundown once we're done and we continue on. By the time we finish, his sergeant, let's call him Sergeant D-Bag, as I never got along with him anyway, is there waiting with Sergeant K and the broken tool. Sergeant D-Bag, Corporal Third Shift, what's going on with this? Me, actually, Sergeant, I was about to explain. Sergeant D-Bag, I wasn't effing asking you. Corporal Third Shift, I don't know, he hasn't. Sergeant D-Bag, do tool check again. By the book this time. I looked at Sergeant K, he and I usually got along well, and I knew he wasn't fond of Sergeant D-Bag either, but he just shrugged. I could tell this was going to be one of those leadership shows solidarity moments. All right then, game on. I walked away and told every tech from both shifts to stop what they were doing. No work would be done until tool check was completed. Also, go into our computer-based maintenance tracking system and put everything awaiting work. If production control called to ask, tell them that we can't work until tool check is done to the satisfaction of Sergeant D-Bag. We had items that aircraft could not fly without, so this was a big problem. Also, no one leaves until we're done. To make sure no one accidentally takes a tool home, we took every tool out, inspected each one for corrosion and damage, verified it was marked properly, and verified each multi-piece tool had all its parts and each part was marked accordingly. By the book tool check. It took us 4 hours. Did I mention Sergeant K had an hour-long commute to get home? When we finally finished at about 4 a.m., I informed Sergeant K that was how I would do tool check from now on, including with day crew, which is when the staff sergeants and gunnery sergeant he reported to worked. He showed up for day crew before me the next few days and did tool check himself, but for the week after, I did the exact same thing with third shift every day. Both sergeants finally came to me on the last day, Sergeant D-Bag because he was tired of dealing with production control on his case, and Sergeant K because his wife was pissed he wasn't getting home until 5 a.m., and not so much apologized as said they wouldn't be bothering me about tool check anymore. Sergeant K and I got along great after that. Sergeant D-Bag got orders shortly thereafter to go to another base. Last I heard, he'd been demoted back to corporal for something. Then he got out and started his own business. He actually made minor national news somewhat recently, and still seemed to be the same D-Bag he was, so take that as you will. Some of the numerous rules of any force: don't mess with engineers, don't mess with programmers, don't mess with IT, and certainly don't mess with a mechanist. There's a reason why they have those MOS, and they will use their brains to stick it to you if you come in with the book. And our last story. Caught my neighbor stealing my electricity. About 2 months ago, I moved into a 2-bedroom apartment. The basement is divided equally with my neighbor, and we are both on the first floor. 12 days ago, on November 12th, I went down there because a fuse blew after I tried using the microwave. After I switched the breaker, I started to look around further with a flashlight, only to see nearly right above me that my neighbor had a light socket to electrical plug converter with an extension cord running to their side. It was hidden well with zip ties and everything. My neighbor seemed like a nice person, and I would have never thought he'd steal my electricity, never mind go snooping around my side of the basement. Anyways, I decided to go knock on his door and tell him that he's stealing my electricity and I'd be putting a lock on the door and unplugging the cord. He starts to blame it on his friend, yada yada, whatever. I just wanted to speak to him, that way I could tell the landlord that I told him to stop. I immediately contacted the landlord and told him I'd be getting a lock for the door and explained the rest of the situation. He called pretty much right away and agreed, but it was a Friday night, so he said he'd call him Monday morning, November 15th. He said he'd get their contact information and tell them if they don't pay us directly, then we'll threaten to press charges. I secured the door that leads to my side and made absolute sure there wasn't any other extension cords hiding anywhere. At this point, I decided to go online to compare my statements for electric. Then I realized this coming bill that had yet to be mailed is $130. WTF? Update. Today, November 25th, I decided to go down and make sure everything was okay down there, and sure enough, there was another extension cord, this time in a different location, running across the ceiling through a crack in the top of the wall that separates us. This was my absolute breaking point. I called the landlord again to let him know the issue resurfaced. He says, call the police. It'll be much easier for him to evict the neighbor with a police report. So I call the police. They send an officer over to my house. When he arrives, I explain my situation, and he was very understanding, but all he did was take down my full name. Police said that this is a major fire hazard. Update 2. I got the documents from police that helped my landlord get rid of them. The neighbor also received a huge fine and reimbursed me for the damages. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.